Bitcoin reclaiming $90,000. And I've been talking about some bottoming signals here that are looking like it's playing out very well. So this is on the monthly time frame, and I talked about Bitcoin here touching down on the monthly 21 SMA, which is a huge and very strong support looking like it is right now because Bitcoin has touched down on it for the very first time since it broke above it back in October 2023. Okay, no, October 2023. And when you touch down on a support or resistance for the first time, I would usually expect a very strong reaction. So that is one of the arguments why I think this is a very likely bottoming signal here for Bitcoin. Now, another bottoming signal here is on the daily RSI, okay, where we are seeing basically a huge rebound since coming down to about an RSI reading of about 23, which was the lowest it's been since February of this year. And look at what happened after Bitcoin has actually gone to an RSI reading of about 25 earlier this year. It rebounded after some more limited downside. Okay. And then it rebounded to the previous all-time high, 125,000. So this is basically what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. Okay. Those are two of my main arguments on why I think this Bitcoin bull cycle is still on. Another one, which is also a macro factor, is because the Federal Reserve has just started its rate cut cycle back in September. And if we actually take a look into what is likely to happen for the December 10th meeting, we're looking at a almost 90% chance of an ease for that meeting, which is a huge jump from just a couple of weeks ago. And that is going to be very bullish for risk on assets like stocks, like crypto, as we have seen back into 2010s during 2020, 2021. Okay. So that is also another reason why I think this bull cycle is still very much on. And why do I talk about Bitcoin? Is because it is the driver of this crypto markets. If it has more room to pump, so will a lot of these altcoins. Now, I am long on quite a bit of altcoins here, and my opinions on this market, on this crypto market in general, is still bullish. However, these are just my opinions. Like the entirety of this video, it's not financial advice. You guys gotta form your own opinions and strategies. We're also going to be taking a look into a few altcoin setups later in this video, which will include iGen, Merlin Chain, and CeeLo, which is a request by one of my viewers. If you guys have any requests, do drop a like, comment, subscribe in the comment section below. I will pick a request due for you guys on a daily basis. I also started a personal channel on fitness and adventures with my dog. So this is going to be a little bit of a self-promotion here. I did leave a link in the video description section below. So do follow me if that is a topic you guys are interested in. I will be talking more about that as well. So let's go ahead and take a look into, we're going to be taking a look into some news. I'm going to be responding to some viewer comments as I usually do on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I do read your comments. I do appreciate them, whether they'll be criticism, insults, whatever. I'll read all of them. I know that is part of that's part of being on YouTube, right? So let's go ahead and take a look into some news first. This one is by Invest. This is new. Bitcoin price reclaims 90,000 on Fed rate cut bets. 2Z ENA link lead altcoins. I haven't taken a look into ENA or 2Z. They look like new symbols, but I have seen the chain link chart. I mean, I do think a lot of these altcoins are going to be bullish once Bitcoin starts making a new higher high. Okay, well, even right now, because it does have quite a bit of bottoming signals with Bitcoin. Of course, I'm just talking about probabilities here. Nothing in this market is 100%, and there could still be limited downside for Bitcoin. Okay, just like we have seen back in February. Now, this news says Bitcoin continued recovering throughout the day and reclaimed its footing above 90,000 as fresh macro analysts begin to surface. So, what are some of these macro level factors? I want to know because I know about the technical factors. Today's gains were driven by a rally that began late Tuesday after a couple of macro headlines helped flip sentiment back in favor of risk. I really do think the sentiment is because we have seen a bottom here, and I mean trading is about just the swings, right? I mean people sell high, at least people who know how to trade, and buy low. That is a classic saying. So I mean, if some of these news headlines wants to tie some good bullish events to the price action, I mean, it's but when it really comes down to it is the trading pattern. That's my opinion. Let's go ahead and go to. I think this is actually a pretty good section here where it says the shift came after the ADP report, which is kind of a payroll report here in the U.S. reported that private payrolls fell by 32,000 jobs in November, badly missing forecasts and making the steepest drop since March 2023. Yeah, so we know the labor market is bad, the job market is bad, but it really just what really happened was it basically increased the odds for the CME watch tool from 87%, as we have seen yesterday, to 89%, which is basically in stone almost, right, for a rate cut that's coming in December. Now, could anything else change the odds? Of course. As new events and data unfolds, that could still change the odds. This is by Crypto News. Coinbase warns Bitcoin under pressure, citing ETF outflows and whales exit. If you guys want to read more about this news, you guys can. I mean, I think at this point, I'm really just paying attention to the technical analysis patterns as well as the Fed rate cuts that could be coming. Right, I think those are going to be some of the key factors that could be driving this crypto direction. So if you guys want to read more about this news, you guys can. It is in TradingView. I do have an affiliate link in the description section for TradingView. They do have free plans available, but if you guys upgrade to a paid plan, I will get a commission. Next piece here is by The Block. Bitcoin market fears are overblown as policy shifts open medium-term upside. K33 says. Okay, so it's saying while Bitcoin is enduring its steepest correction since 2022-2023 bear markets, the current wave of fear is being driven by exaggerated long horizon risk rather than any immediate structural threat, according to K33. In this December outlook, the research and brokerage firm head of research, Vito Lundy, argued that Bitcoin is trading at a deep value relative to equities, and that the case for material upside is far more plausible than a repeat of the 80% drawdown seen in prior cycles. Yeah, I do think so as well. If you guys want to read more about it, you guys can. It is in TradingView. Alright, so let's come over here to the 3-day time frame. I want to talk about the 3-day time frame because this is going to be important. And I talked about a falling wedge pattern breakdown on the 3-day time frame here that Bitcoin is trying to invalidate. As of yesterday's 3-day candle close, it did not invalidate it, but we are looking at a pretty good candle so far for this 3-day candle. If we actually get a 3-day candle close above this upward trend line, that would invalidate this falling wedge breakdown and pattern altogether. So very important to be paying attention to that, because that could signal short-term bullish price action coming up. Let's go ahead and go to iGen and see what's happening with iGen here. Now, I haven't done an update on this coin, so this is something new. So let's go ahead and take a look into the weekly time frame. Let's zoom out a little bit. Weekly time frame, this is a falling wedge pattern, which is going to be a very common theme with quite a bit of these altcoins, right? And on this time frame here is a falling wedge pattern, which is a bullish pattern that has a higher chance of breaking to the upside. Okay? Of course, gotta mind the downside risk because I've seen falling wedges break down as well. But what I'm seeing here is that it's very close to the bottom trend line of this falling wedge pattern. But if it actually breaks to the upside, the price target, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target would be about $6 for iGen. Let's take a look into a shorter time frame and see if there's any clarity on what this market could be doing. This is another falling wedge pattern on the daily time frame that it looks like it just broke out from, right? So this is what it's looking like. Daily time frame broke out of this falling wedge pattern here. And the price target for this pattern here is going to be based off this actual breakout point. So it happened quite some time ago. It did retest that pattern. It was a very close retest, but I'm going to say that this breakout is still valid. Price target here is going to be about almost $1.05 for iGen. Let's see if it gets there. Price targets are estimates only. There could be more, there could be less, a lot of which does depend on what happens with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin has more room to pump, so will a lot of these altcoins. But if Bitcoin starts dumping, these altcoin setups, they're not going to matter very much, especially if it dumps extensively. There's also quite a bit of bullish divergence that's playing out on the RSI, on the daily RSI as well. So that usually means that there's going to be a bounce, and you're seeing that right now. Let's go ahead and go to Merlin Chain and see what's happening with this coin here. I am looking for an opportunity to take a long position in this market once I get some dry powder. And it's going to be a leverage long position because I am looking to take some quick profits where I can. Merlin Chain, I talked about this, falling wedge pattern. Broke out of here back quite some time ago, back in September, okay? Price target for this breakout here is going to be about 75 cents, okay? Price targets could be more or less, a lot of which does depend on what happens with Bitcoin. Now, it has formed a rising wedge on this weekly time frame, okay? This is a rising wedge, and it basically broke down from it, right? Broke down from it, touched down on the weekly 21 SMA, currently about 25 cents. It is trying to get back into the rising wedge pattern. If you see a weekly candle back into this rising wedge pattern, that would mean that this is looking like it's going to be rebounding. It's more likely going to be rebounding. However, if it continues downwards, and especially if it doesn't break this upward trend line on this daily time frame, this could more likely form some type of a falling wedge pattern, something like this, okay? So that's basically what I'm seeing for Merlin Chain, some scenarios that could be happening. Let's go ahead and go to CeeLo, which is a request by one of my viewers. You guys can make any requests in the comment section below, but this is on the monthly time frame. And this is a falling wedge pattern. Like I said, a very common theme. Falling wedge pattern, it is valid on the monthly time frame. CeeLo here tried to break out 2 months ago. Well, even two consecutive months, but was unsuccessful, right? You just see wicks outside of the pattern, but the candle bodies end up back into this pattern. It looks like it's trying to break out again because it's basically at the end of the pattern, so it has to do something, okay? Very important to be paying attention to what's happening with CeeLo right now. On the daily time frame, zooming in and see what it could be happening. On the daily time frame, there is bullish divergence playing out. You're going to have quite a bit of resistance along the way, including your daily 21 SMA, your daily 50 SMA, and your daily 200 SMA. Those are some resistances to be paying attention to. So let's see if CeeLo breaks to the upside here. If it does, the price target here is going to be about $1.65 for CeeLo. Okay, let's see if that's a huge move for a price target. Let's see if it gets there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look into some viewer comments. I do read viewer comments. So first of all, I have a comment here. It says, can you comment on the effect of token unlocks or tokenomics or for Aether? Thanks. So, I mean, I don't know anything about the token unlocks or tokenomics. I'm going to be straight with you. I am more focused on the technical analysis. So, without knowing too much, I'm not going to comment because that won't be worth much, okay? But if you guys have any questions about technical analysis, I can answer that, or probably more macro events. But in terms of the fundamentals or tokenomics behind the tokens, I don't know anything about it. Can you do one on CeeLo, please? Yes, I've already done one. Next one says Turbo to the Moon. I hope so. I hope so. I am not long on Turbo, but I will look for opportunities to scoop some up and try to make a profit off of it. That is the name of the game, because I've seen these bull cycles end terribly, and they are going to end. All cycles end. Okay, bull cycles, bear cycles, sideways cycles, plume to the moon. That's what this person is saying. I wish you all the best. Awesome video updates. Please do more on SNX. Yes, I will. Next one, it says, okay, so it looks like these are kind of some spam comments. Kraden, I'm not really sure what that is. Okay. All right, so this basically wraps up for this video. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of CeeLo, Merlin Chain, iGen, or any other coins in this market by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one.